So my kids are going to be bummed because they were planning on going to college, and now I have to tell them that they're going to go to trucking school because I'm blowing the college fund on this bike.
You are not, are you really?
No, I don't know, man. The bike's, the Evil Uprising, though, had me thinking that on the trail. At the risk of sounding like a teenage girl at a Justin Bieber concert, I fucking love this bike. It's really good. It's not without its flaws, but this bike is ridiculously good. One of the best bikes ever in years.
Performance-wise, the Delta system, is that what they're calling it?
Delta system.
Dave's extra legitimate
link
travel apparatus.
That system is the best
Nicely
he's
done.
done, and he's done some really, really good suspensions.
Yeah.
This one is absolutely incredible. We rode the Evil Revolt in Bellingham in 2000, whenever it was, and we loved that bike. And this is exactly like that, like all mountain pedal version. The traction is unbelievable.
I could not get my head around the traction. I kept giving it more and more and more, and it's a 26-inch wheel bike, so we're used to a little more traction on the bigger wheels, and I just kept giving it, and I didn't break traction once today.
But this we keep saying it
On the clock.
that it doesn't matter the wheel size. Like the wheel size does not make the bike, right?
No.
There's good 29ers or shit 29ers. There's
Yeah.
26, 650. But this bike really exemplified that, though.
It does.
'Cause I was cleaning stuff that I couldn't clean on the bigger wheels. That theoretically, the bigger wheels, like,
They have, yes. We're rolling over. I've got a little bit more contact pass.
Right,
So I should have more
and the whole
traction.
science thing working for you was
Yes.
screwed. No, I was just I was absolutely cleaning all sorts of stuff that I couldn't do on the bigger wheel bikes on this 26er.
It just adheres to the trail, swallows it up, like going up and down.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing. Like I say, it felt like the Revolt, the downhill bike.
Yeah.
Going up, I was
What really impressed me. Really
I
impressed
think
me.
it rolled over and had better traction than a lot, maybe all of the 29ers and 650Bs on this test. And it has to be pointed out, this is the only 26-inch bike we have.
Of the non-dominant.
And it also has to be pointed out that our test loop is tight and technical.
Yeah.
And so we were running this bike at low speed a lot of times where its smaller wheels were shining, right, in the tight stuff. But the stuff that it shouldn't have shined on, it did.
Yeah, for sure. And what killed me was like the first half I had it, and our version has the Float X, so it's offered as a frame with the Float X. You can get it with the Float, C2D, or the Float X. And so with the Float X, it's 2600. And I had it lockout mode.
You turned it off, didn't you?
And I turned it off.
Yes, so did I.
But even in lockout mode, it is still better than most 150 bikes wide open. I'm gonna just say it.
Well, in the trail mode, what you're saying, not in the climb mode, in trail mode.
In trail mode.
Not locked out, trail.
Exactly. And then
Yeah,
I'd
me
open
too.
it up, and it was actually just still amazingly kick-ass.
And pedaled still.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice a huge difference in the pedaling in between the two settings. So it's like, wow, that's a testament to the suspension design.
Yeah.
The shock isn't actually doing the work because the suspension is designed really, really well.
Yeah.
It's really, really
And
good.
150 travel. We got a bunch of other bikes on test at 150 mils of travel in the rear, but they don't feel like it.
This at sometimes felt like more in the rear.
Yeah.
It just really does put itself at the top of the 150 kind of travel category, I think.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the bike, aesthetically, like that whole linkage down there looks all convoluted. You're looking at it and you're just what is going on down there? And you're kind of reminiscent of some bikes of the past, not to be named, and you're like, what have they done here? So you go into this and you ride it and you're like, well, they've done really, really, really good things here, actually.
Yeah, 'cause it looks ugly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's ugly.
It's ugly.
It's good. The first half is good, and then it gets.
You can't see the shock really. You know, it's just kind of hidden in there.
Just also kind of a bit of a drag, right? You want to set the sag, and you're like, I have to have digits.
Well, you got to pull some mirrors out, actually. Some smoke too, maybe, but mirrors.
Surgeon's mask and the whole thing to get to it, which is kind of pain.
Well, this is why I think it's good that it's got that Float X shock on. It's a little easier to get into it than it would be with some other shocks where you have dials at top and bottom.
True enough.
So we were pretty lucky.
True
with
enough.
that. I like the fact that the suspension design is down low, all the weight is right by your ankles, and you feel it, the performance. You feel the weight down low, the center of mass is brilliant. I think that aids the traction, like having all that weight down there. We see some other bikes, they have all their convoluted linkages up high.
Yeah, low center of gravity, right? Again, science working for it. I wish they could make it in a prettier package, but I'm nitpicking because when I got the bike, I just couldn't give a damn anyways. It just worked well. The one thing that if I was going to nitpick is that there's hardly any room in the back. We had a 2.2 Conti Mountain King.
Yes.
And you could hear the pebbles, ping, 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 ping.
The pebble paddle.
The pebble paddle. Indeed, man. It was like, in mud, I would be absolutely terror-stricken. And I was going to change that yoke apart. Mm-hmm. We talked to Kevin, we just called him a few minutes ago, and he said that for 2000, Kevin Walsh owns the company, 2014, the bikes are going to have more room back there. Right now, he says he gets a 2.25 Schwalbe Nobby Nick back there. He says he can get a Schwalbe Hans Stampf 2.35, which is a pretty beefy tire.
Into the one we wrote, not the 2014 one.
No, in 2014, he says they're going to have room for the bigger tire. So if that's the case, that's a huge improvement. Because I'll be honest, I love this bike. But with the tire clearance that it has right now, I couldn't buy it.
It's so tight. It's like a tire cleaning system in there. It's like designed to scrape the mud off the tire.
Exactly. I couldn't run that back in the Northwest, dude.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of a bike that I've had serious mud clearing issues on in years, and you hadn't had that problem. Most companies are pretty smart in keeping it away. You get mud in the suspension and the linkages everywhere else, but this could be a problem. I'd like to ride one in the winter.
It'd be nice to put serious miles on this just to see how that whole system holds up, right? Is it going to stay quiet? What's going to happen to it? The whole bit.
And here lies in a deeper problem. If you spend your kids' college fund on that bike, what happens if it doesn't last until they get to college?
Right. Well, I mean, you're probably hinting at the fact that Evil, the company, since Kevin Walsh has owned it, has this track record for producing really cool bikes that work really well, but then have had some reliability issues, right?
Yeah.
Frames just not holding up. And so, I think that's got to be in people's minds, right? Like, this is a really amazing bike. It rides well, but is it going to hold up? When we talked to him, he said it's a 2-year warranty on the frame, and that it's a lifetime crash replacement. So if you wreck it and flame out in a wreck, it's $1,400 instead of the original $2,400 for the frame. So there's that going on.
Do you still feel like, as a consumer, is it a leap of faith at all? Or you're like, I have this chunk of change, some chunk of money, I want this bike because it's going to be really, really good. But this is a small company. Am I going to get taken care of down the road?
Well, I think you face that. Yeah, and it's a risk. I think I would actually take the risk, but I think it's a legitimate one. It's a legitimate thing to ask. And I think anytime you're dealing with a small company, it's not specialized. They've got like 800 people answering the warranty calls and sending you a bike out when things go wrong. Right? It's a small company. But then, do we fault the guy for being a small company?
Not at all. No.
But I know it's in people's minds, right?
Yeah. I'm going to struggle to choose whether this is going to be my pick of all the bikes we've got here at this year's Bible Bike Test. The performance is staggering, but there's just a few doubts in my mind about the bike. Tire clearance being one, and what we just talked about being the other. Would I trust myself to vote that as number one? I don't know yet. But I'm going to ride the hell out of it before we leave.
Me too. I'm also going to be in the same boat because, yes, after knowing now all the things that we do about what's going on with this bike, and the fact that where it comes in price-wise is really competitive, even when you put it up against Specialized and Giant and the bigger companies that seem to be able to put together a cheaper package. But this is actually really competitive.
Yeah, that's the freaky thing, right? So
freaky thing.
$2,400 with the CTD, $2,600 with the Float X that we have. You can get it with the base level build kit, which is SRAM X7, X9 for $3,800. And that's
$3,800.
Yeah, for full carbon. That's staggering. That's really good. And the bike rips.
And the bike rips.
Yeah.
All right, back to 26 it is then.